Welcome back to the channel. Spring has sprung, fall has fell. Winter's here now and it's colder than HE double hockey sticks. So we're going to be talking heating sources for the do-it-yourselfer in their work area. That's today here in the Shade Tree Garage. Today we're going to discuss the options you have to heat your work area for the do-it-yourselfer who's trying to get work done through the winter. All right, now I'll be sharing with you my experience with various forms of heat. My first body shop that I opened was in a building that was 36 feet by 50 feet deep. It was a big building, pole barn construction, about 50 years old at that time. And it was not very airtight. Lots of air coming in from outside, which was fine in the summer, but not so fine in the winter. Now the shop, when I moved in January, and the shop had a very large homebrew wood-burning stove back in the one corner. Now this stove had been cobbled together, I believe, from an oil burner and some other sundry parts. It had a big radiator on top of it, and it was kind of ingenious the way it worked. The hot fumes and smoke from the stove went up through this radiator, through all these different passages back and forth and up and down and across. And the radiator really radiated heat like it should. And it really helped warm that shop, as big as it was. Now you may be thinking to yourself, a wood burner in a body shop? How smart is that? Well, you know, there's an old saying that my Uncle Roy used to tell me. And he would say, Jim, necessity is a mother. And this was kind of what I had to deal with until I could get another heating source for my shop. But I was fortunate. I was a brand new entity, new business in the area. People didn't know, you know, I was from a different part of the county. Nobody really knew me there. And it took a while to get some name recognition. And, you know, people don't seek out body shops very often in the winter unless they've had an accident. But one guy did. He flipped cars. He would buy them cheap at an auction or, you know, from a family member, and he would rehab them. He would detail them really nice. And he came to me, of all people, to do touch-up, spot repairs, you know, door dings, scratches, creases, all that kind of work. And honestly, I was happy to have the business. So I cut him a good price, and he kept coming back for more. You know, even work that doesn't pay super well is better than no work at all. I eventually did insulate the walls, which helped. Eventually, I got another form of heat, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. Now, behind me, you see I call it a box heater. It's a kerosene heater made by, I think, Dynaglow. This type of heater has been around forever. This one is at least 25 years old, because I bought it when we moved to this house we're at now. It's rated at about 11,000 BTU. It'll heat about 500 square feet. Now this is an interesting heater because it is directional. It broadcasts its heat out the front, and you can have it fairly close to your cabinets or anything else on the sides or in the back, and it won't overheat it because it's directing all that heat out the front. This heater will run 12 to 14 hours on a full tank of kerosene. And the tank is removable. On this side, there's a door open that opens up, and you pull the tank out. It's kind of a squarish shape. It drops down in. Now you pull the tank out, and you can take it and fill it. Now, my wife hated the smell of kerosene. And so this type of heater was perfect because when it started running low, I could take the tank out, take it out to my back porch, which is where I had my 5-gallon jug of kerosene. I could refill the tank and then bring it back in without the kerosene smell, drop it in, and we're good to go for another 8 or 10, 12 hours. Now these heaters, these kerosene heaters all have an igniter feature that's powered by batteries. This one, I think it's 2D batteries. Other ones, it's 2C batteries. Now I will tell you, we used the igniter for a few times and then got tired of replacing batteries and just used a lighter because they're easy to light. This stove requires no electricity. It's pretty foolproof. And in fact, as old as this stove is, the wick is still in excellent condition. Now, I probably still have it. I bought spare wicks for the kerosene heaters I have, thinking I would need to replace them. I've never replaced the first wick. If you take care of it and burn it, follow the instructions, the heater will last just about forever. In fact, if you look on places like Facebook Marketplace, you will find, antique kerosene heaters that are still operating and still operate well. Now the tank holds about a gallon. And again, like I said, these are directional. If you're working in your garage and it's cold, if you set this down close to you and say you're doing a brake job, you can have it nearby, aimed at you, and it will keep you toasty warm and your hands warm, especially while you're doing your work. And once you get done with one side, you can move it around to the other side and have a nice warm place to get your job done. All right. Now there's another type of kerosene heater I want to talk about, and I'll take you back to where I have it sitting. All these kerosene heaters I rescued from our barn. They'd been sitting in there probably 15 years at least, and had 15 years worth of dust, dirt, and got a little rust, but they cleaned up pretty well. Can't complain, and they operate fine. Now this one I haven't tested because I can't find the tank. The kerosene heater was in there, and my son says he remembers placing the tank on the top of the heater. I found the heater, but I did not find the tank yet. It'll probably turn up as soon as I buy a replacement for it. Go figure. This heater you can find on Amazon for about $135, and it didn't cost much more than that when I bought it 25 years ago. But again, this has a shut-off switch. You hit the button and it pulls the wick down. It has a safety feature that if it tips over very far, it'll automatically shut off, retracts the wick down into its mechanism, and extinguishes the flame. So these really are foolproof, and just don't put gasoline in it. We've seen some massive house fires started by people putting the wrong fuel in a kerosene heater. All right, let's go look at the other style. All right, guys, this is known as a convection kerosene heater. It heats equally in all directions. It's rated at 23,500 BTU, which is just a little over twice the rating of the box heater. And this will heat about 1,000 square feet, which is pretty sizable. It might take a little time to get there. And of course, that again depends on how airish, how much cold air infiltration you have in that 1,000 square feet. In my garage, I have no wall insulation, high ceiling, and my roll-up overhead doors can be pretty drafty. So it will help heat my shop, but not to the level I would like. But these heaters are pretty foolproof. You have this big knob, you use that to get it started. All right, after it's running, you use the knob to adjust the wick height. It's adjustable to get it to a nice even burn. If you leave it running full bore, it will burn a lot of kerosene, and it may even stink. All right, so that's all the way up, and then this little lever drops it down and extinguishes the fire. This also has a tilt mechanism. If the stove gets jostled or tilted over, the mechanism will quit. Now this one has a fuel gauge in it, and that's real handy to have. Now, unlike the box heater, this is the tank. The bottom of the stove is the tank, and it will hold almost 2 gallons, and it'll run up to 14 hours on a full load of fuel. Um, the wire helps keep you away from the really hot parts, though this will get really warm, really hot, just from being that close to the heat source. This will get hot. Uh, this handle, uh, you really don't want to move this when it's hot. The handle will get hot too, especially if you leave it straight up above. Uh, this one has this lever here is the igniter, which like I said, we've gone after we changed batteries a while. We went to a lighter like this, which works great. All right, well let's fire up this dude and show you how it works. Let's see if I can turn it towards the camera a little bit. All right, there, the burner is in here, and it has a knob on it. And again, it's just a little bit larger version type of burner. It works just the same as the box heater is. Same sort of mechanism that raises and lowers the wick. All right, how much fuel do we have here? All right, we've got just under half a tank. All right, so now when you hit the igniter, I don't know if you can see in there or not, it raises the burner so you can see the wick. The wick is all the way up. So let's light this thing. All right, whoa, you see it's smoking. All right. When you first turn it on, you may have to adjust the wick height a few times as the flame evens out around the wick. It has to go all the way around the big circle, which is what the wick looks like. There's a window here where you can look in and you can watch how the fires burn, and you can judge what you want to do with your whether you need to lower. Now, usually the instructions will tell you that you rock the burner back and forth to help the flame propagate around the entire wick. All right, and the goal is to have it burning, but not so much that it smokes, because when it smokes, it smells. And I'm going to just let it run for a little heat here in the shop. This knob, even after you raise it all the way up, it has an adjustment range where you can adjust the wick up and down to keep it from smoking, burning too hot, and to keep it, what you want is a nice even flame. You don't want it burning that hot. You want to just, yeah, and that the flame will even out. This is the third type of heater I want to look at today. And this was the type of heater I used to heat my large 36 by 50 body shop. This heater is rated at 255,000 BTU, and it'll allegedly heat about 5,000 square feet. Now, is it overkill for a shop my size? Probably, but when you consider the fact that my shop has no insulation, 10 foot walls, 3 overhead doors that roll up overhead doors that aren't, really weather tight. I haven't done a thing to them yet. I felt the overkill was necessary or desired. I can always turn it off. In my shop, I did overall paint jobs using this heater to heat my work area. On overall paint jobs, I use sealer. So I could do my coat of sealer, and depending on how cold it was and how much wind there was, if the shop cooled off a lot, or I would fire the heater back up and do my single stage paint. That's all I used back in the day. We really didn't know much about base coat, clear coat. Anyway, now there are a couple of caveats about one of these heaters. It put out a lot of heat. It also puts out a great deal of air. And if you're trying to get something painted, it will kick up an enormous amount of dust, and you may not even notice it at first. If your floor is wet, like I usually will, dampen, made my floors damp, it won't kick up dust from the floor, but anything in its path, it can blow dust off of and get it airborne. So how do you combat that? Well, after you shut it off and your shop's warm enough to paint, you take you blow off the whole vehicle, even the masking paper, blow it off good, and then tack it. And you'll have to do this after every time if you turn the heater on once or twice or even 3 times. You're going to have to do this to help catch any dust particles that may become airborne and land on your new paint job. Now this heater is unlike my original one. This Torpedo heater has a thermostat, and you can adjust it for the temperature you want the heater to kick on. These heaters, another downside of these heaters is they are very noisy. You can't listen to the radio and have one of these heaters running. It's just hard to do. They're very loud. Now you can find these heaters, the box heater, the round ones on the back bench, and this Torpedo heater. You can find these used on places like Facebook Marketplace for a song. Sometimes they may not work, or they'll say they smoke. These are all very simple heaters to fix. You may run into a problem finding a replacement motor, for example, on this Torpedo heater, if that's the issue. But they're all very simple to fix. It just takes a little bit of time to do it. And I could pick up these big convection heaters all day long for $30 to $50 on Facebook Marketplace, and that's a bargain. Brand new, that heater, the cheapest heater it looks just like these on Amazon was $135. Ironically, the box heater was priced at almost the same price, and both of them, if you take good care of those heaters, even the Torpedo heater, they'll last a very long time. Now, in addition to these heaters all burn kerosene. And the reason why is when I got them 25 years ago, kerosene was about $2.50 a gallon. Now it's $5.67 a gallon locally. So the fuel costs have gone up, but that was 25 years ago. This one, of course, requires electricity. So you have to remember that if the power goes out. There aren't shields around the Torpedo heater. The whole length of that tube gets really, really hot, and the end of it will glow red. So if you have children around, you need to warn them constantly to stay away from this heater, or you could get seriously burned. All right, well, we've looked at these heaters. Now, ironically, some of these same types of heaters are available that burn propane, and you can get a Torpedo heater that runs on propane, space heaters, radiant heaters that run. You can hook up a 20-pound propane tank to and be happy burning that. I've heard that they have less smell than a kerosene heater will, because even the Torpedo heater will you'll be able to smell it. And of course, all manufacturers of kerosene heaters will advise you to crack a window, to have an inlet of some fresh air, so that fumes don't build up. So that's great advice. Now, unless you're in a shop like mine that has plenty of fresh air intake, that may be a little unwanted. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you use a different method to heat your shop, or if you think using a wood stove in a body shop is nuts, give me your thoughts on that. And anyway, hopefully we'll all stay warm this winter in our do-it-yourself garages. All right, well, that's it for my review of heating sources. So stay warm this winter, and we'll be back again soon with another update from the Shade Tree Garage. Thanks for watching.